Sveiki 15 min žiūrovai ir skaitytojai. Latvijos parlamentaras, Latvijos politikas Rihards Kols prieš kelias savaitės pasisakydamas Vienoje, kur buvo pakviesta Rusijos delegacija, atkreipė dėmesį ir pasakė savo emocingą poziciją Rusijos delegacijos dalyvavimo tame susitikime atžvilgiu. Ir ten jis griežtai pasakė, kas yra kaltas dėl karo Ukrainoje pradžios ir tęsimo, ir taip pat išsakė savo poziciją apie tokių delegacijų dalyvavimą tokiuose susitikimuose Europoje. Ir kviečiu pasižiūrėti tą trumpą ištrauką ir paskui kalbėsime jau su pačiu parlamentaru.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Mr. Kols of Latvia.
And we talk right now that, we stand up to our principles and values and statutes. We don't. I mean, there's an elephant in this room, which is called by name Russian Federation delegation. I mean, if they are witnesses, if I were a witness and somebody asked me, who's the war criminal? Well, I would point to the backbenchers in this room. And it's just disgrace. It's a disgrace that this delegation is here, particularly the delegation that consists of members who are sanctioned individuals who voted to annex independent countries' territories. Donbass, Kherson, Zaporizhia Oblast, Lugansk. Those are the principles this institution was vouched to protect and guard. And we're sitting like nothing happened. I would use the momentum, and apologies, Mr. Chair. I will convey a message to the Russian Federation delegation sitting in this room, and I will quote the Ukrainian border guards. Русский военный корабль пошел нахуй.
Thank you. Thank you.
Taigi, su mumis nuotoliu yra Latvijos parlamentaras Rihards Kols. Hello.
Hi there.
Lithuanian politicians chose not to participate in that meeting in Vienna. Why did you choose to participate and voice your opinion against Russia?
Well, overall, that was based primarily on the Ukrainian delegation's position. Albeit Ukrainians weren't at the Hofburg Palace present, but they were in Vienna. They stated there will be in Vienna, there will be in Austria. So therefore, we also coordinated our efforts with our transatlantic partners, USA, as well, and with our Nordic partners. And prior to the meeting in Vienna, we had these coordination meetings, and also our US colleagues asked to participate and also to follow the strict principle, which is whenever there is a Russian or Belarusian delegation taking the floor, that all of us will leave the room, which we actually did throughout the meeting. So therefore, that was overall a position. Yes, I know the Lithuanian delegation announced that they will not go to Vienna, they will boycott. I mean, that's their sovereign decision. It's actually, I mean, I cannot vouch. That's what they have decided. But nevertheless, we also had a meeting in Vienna with Ukrainian delegation. That was the like-minded countries: Canada, U.S., United Kingdom, France, Germany, Latvia, Estonia, and we actually discussed what else we can do at international fora in order first to support Ukraine, but also how to deal with Russia in international institutions as such. So that was also a very beneficial meeting with our Ukrainian colleagues as well.
Have you found a decision how to deal with Russian delegations in such meetings?
Well, it was really upsetting to receive the news that Austrians will issue visas to Russian delegation. And moreover, what I learned is actually it wasn't just the size of delegation, the Russian Duma MPs. It was actually the size of delegation was 60 plus people. So obviously there were among that delegation, I think even, individuals who represent the Russia's intelligence services as well. So that again gave a legal basis for them to be on a European soil, knowing that each and every individual in Russian Duma is actually a sanctioned individual, and Austria is part of the EU, and actually Austria have also sanctioned these individuals. And right now, to finding different excuses that they have no other option than to issue a visa, I don't think it didn't fly. I mean, that argument was very vague, and that was primarily put out in front of Austrians as well. Hopefully, the next meeting that takes place in Canada, Canadians, I can vouch that they will stand up to principles and will not issue visa to the Russian delegation. But on top of that, of course, there is a momentum within the OEC Parliamentary Assembly to work on internal procedures so that in the future, not only right now that is Russia and Belarus, but, autocratic countries pop up time to time. And it's our, task to find the legal tools that we can expel or kick out such delegations from democratic institutions.
Are you willing to participate in meetings like this if Russian delegation will continue participate?
Well, you saw the effect was very much in a way that Russian delegation didn't gain the floor as to ridiculate, as to send their narratives. Actually, what we managed to do is to get the opposite of that. And, I interestingly followed what the Russian propaganda channels, how they portrayed the meeting in Vienna. And, the loud statement was that the Russian delegation managed to kick out the more or less like as they label us as the Nazi politicians, which is what we saw also a huge influx on the against the Russian delegation altogether from the Russian society, which is a very good effect that I have achieved with my remarks that I made, because the main message from general society or the propaganda, leadership was that it's a shame, and the Russian delegates should have not actually gone to this meeting, and maybe should avoid in the future to go such events. So maybe I have managed to do that, but nevertheless, of course, we will do utmost to coordinate our efforts and not to allow Russia to abuse and use democratic institutions. OEC Parliamentary Assembly is one of those. Another one is the Interparliamentary Union. That is also another format where democratic parliamentarianism is being working together, and the upcoming meeting in Bahrain will also be very important, and to see how the international community can come together and act against the aggressor.
As we saw, your position was very emotional, and it's interesting if you've got any instant reaction from Russians at that meeting.
Oh, yes. I mean, it was actually, I have to admit, it was my spontaneous intervention, because when the first session delegation was there, but the panelists, the rapporteurs, the rhetoric was in a way that it was like business as usual, despite the fact that that was the anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion into Ukraine, and that really triggered me to respond in the way I responded. But afterwards, yes, the head of the Russian delegation, he did not approach me, but he's kind of passed me by. And the message was, you know what, the Russian warships are coming for you. So, I mean, my quick response was, keep going straight to tribunal.
Okay, let's hope. And as I mentioned before, at the beginning, Lithuanians chose not to participate at all. Which way is more effective now that you have this meeting already had this meeting? Which way is more effective, to boycott such meetings or to participate and voice your position there?
Well, obviously, boycott has an effect, but it has an effect if it's almost, if it's not a half or at least 1/3 of or 1/4 of the member states of the OEC. In this regard, there was 20 countries, like-minded countries, who issued a statement and a plea to the Austrians not to issue a visa. That was ignored. And then, if there is a boycott, it has an impact if that is like, for example, 20 countries agrees, let's boycott that. Then it definitely will have an effect. The fine example was the recent, another regional institution, the Council of Europe, which actually in 2019, I was in the shoes, I wasn't part of the delegation to the Council of Europe. And at that point, I was really pushing my delegation that we need to boycott. That gathering, the Ukrainians were on board as well to boycott. But in the end, the conviction was that we have to be there. We have to confront Russia. And what they did in 2019, they established Baltic Plus group that started to work to internal procedures within the Council of Europe to find the mechanisms of how they can kick out Russia. So what happened in the end, when Russia felt that certain part of their body is under fire, they announced that they're leaving the organization. So I think this is something where at the OEC Parliamentary Assembly, we should work the same way. Start to really push on the Russian Federation, on Belarus, on internal procedures, and in the end, I think even Russia will make this decision, to quit this institution.
So you would recommend Lithuanian politicians to participate in the end?
Well, I mean, again, it's for Lithuanian politicians to make their sovereign decisions, and even for this winter session, my call was to be together with like-minded countries and not to leave Ukrainians all alone in Vienna, because they were there. Yes, they weren't in the Habsburg, but they were in Vienna physically, and we had the opportunity to meet them and to coordinate future efforts, and there will be established formal mechanisms to coordinate our work for the future meetings.
Thank you very much for your time here. Mes kalbėjome su Latvijos parlamentaru Rihardu Kolsu, kuris, kaip ir minėjau, Austrijoje pasisakė griežtai prieš Rusijos pradėtą karą prieš Ukrainą. Tiek šioje laidoje. Iki.